ESU Esports Invitational, the second ever Invitational. I'm with my co-host here, AH7/Glichter.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here, and I'm hoping for some exciting games today.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. We should have a total of 3 games, I believe. The first one's going to be blanking on the name now. Check. It should be CUAA Cardinals versus K State Academy B.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Us being a team based out of Kansas, we know a lot about K-State. We've played them multiple times. We participated in their LAN events. And so seeing them here at our event, that's nice. I'm excited to see them play. And for CUAA, don't really know a whole lot about them, but I'm excited to see what they pull out here in this round robin half of the tournament.
Yeah, it'll be really fun. I was going to say something and I just totally blanked. As you guys will notice, normally in the past I've always had like the camera of my co-host, but I decided to squish Andrew down into like a little potato, match me this time around.
No, yeah, believe it or not, guys, this is actually me with my camera on. This is what I look like. So everything's coming through clearly, I promise. And we're just waiting on the draft link here, and then we'll get into it for you guys.
Take a few minutes here. A little bit of a slow start. We had some organizational stuff to get through, but yeah. Andrew, how's your season been for the NECC playing with ESU? A lot of these teams
Yeah,
are from the same are from the Navigators bracket, so a lot of these people are around the same rank as like our general team.
yeah, I'd say for Emporia State, we've had definitely a lot more ups and downs this season. We've had a lot of good games. Our chemistry is just peaking when it should be. We're all very in sync in game. We're able to kind of joke around on comms and then get serious when we need to. And it's a nice environment to play the game in. Yeah, I believe we've only lost one game this split. So we're heading into playoffs with, I believe, the 2 seed in the tournament bracket, and we're hoping to make it all the way and win it all.
That'd be really exciting. I'll be definitely looking forward to shoutcasting for those playoffs when they do happen. Let me see if I can get any information on the players here.
I know for CUAA, it looks like the average rank is around silver 1. Um, it looks like their top laner, Selby Weeby, I believe is how you pronounce that, is quite the Jace player. He's got most of his ranked games on Jace this season, 75 of them, and the next highest being Gnar with 3. Their jungler, same story there, 71 games on Zach, and then 6 with Trundle. And then I believe their bot laner, he's a lot more versatile, but it looks like he prefers long range. Kind of artillery style champions such as Jin, Jinx, Ziggs. And then, yeah, to round it out, their support player plays a lot of Pike, Morgana, Karma, things
Excellent.
like that.
I have to interrupt you there because I think we're going to be going into draft here really soon. So let me pull up the pro draft here. So here we go. We got starting out with K-State on blue side and CUAA on red side. And like you're talking about, instantly we already see the Zach ban from K State. Not
Yeah, and
recognizing.
I, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if a J span follows that up. I mean, they just have so many games on these champions. It feels silly in a best of one game to give them their comfort picks.
Yeah, followed up by the Seraphine ban. Not too surprising. Seraphine's been a real powerhouse. Uh,
Yeah, just in general. I mean, she's one of those champions that you can take anywhere. Mid, bot, support. Maybe not so much in jungle or top, but she's very versatile.
a Jinx ban actually from K State here. I mean, that is one of the champions that their bot laner likes to play on CUA, so it's not too surprising. I suppose I don't know if I personally consider Jinx to be that much of a threat, but you know, if you
I
have
know,
to
I
like one
agree.
nitpick,
She's definitely not as strong as she was a couple months ago. But the Malzahar ban is something that I want to talk about. It kind of feels like K State's trying to eliminate champions that will snowball and get out of control and kind of control picks that they might want to take, such as like mobile assassins, things that if they get locked down, just don't thrive as well.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we see from K State picking up that Aatrox. Aatrox is a highly contested pick right now, just because of how much power is in his kit at the moment. Following up with that very obvious Jace lock. You spent a lot of time talking about that Jace earlier, and it's not no surprise to see it here, especially so early.
Yeah, I feel like K State, they kind of thought, okay, we have an answer with the Aatrox. We're comfortable with this matchup. We'll give that pick in order to ban a different champion that we just don't want to deal with.
Following up with a Thresh pick as well. So not really a whole lot to say here. Thresh is a pretty generically good support. I don't let me double check.
Yeah, Thresh he can kind of do it all. He's got CC, Peel. He's just very good all around. He thrives with pretty immobile bot lanes, things like Aphelios. So we'll see if a hyper carry that's not very mobile comes through for CUAA.
Yeah, following up with a Swain pick from K State. Pretty good for trying to give that Aatrox or trying to get into those team fights with Aatrox. You have these two champions that thrive really in these really big team fights, along with Viego as well, presumably for the jungle. A lot of these champions look like a pretty skirmish heavy team.
No, definitely, and that this is making more sense with the Malzahar ban. You can see that K State's really trying to get out, run, get ahead, just dominate the map. So
And following that up with a Trundle pick from CUAA, trying to probably more in counter to the Viego, I imagine. Just something that can provide or kind of stand up to Viego when you're into that like early to mid game, and they're likely to see each other in the jungle.
definitely, and I like the amount of peel that the Trundle adds as well to accompany the Thresh. They're gonna have a lot of tools to escape or engage. Then the next couple bans come through with a Jin, Lucian, and Varus. So you can see that the ADC pick is getting highly, contested here. They're really narrowing down the pool for both sides.
Makes sense given how a lot of ADCs can really shape out these team comps, especially with both teams giving them up. You have all this peel from CUAA. It looks like, oh, it might be a Ziggs bot lane, actually. That's an interesting pick. I mean, you do have a lot of AD already with Jace and Trundle, so
That is, and I'm really intrigued to see if they will pick an AD mid laner because Ziggs really he does well when he's the only source of AP on a team. He can dish out so much more damage than a lot of other AP characters if the enemy team is forced to stack armor.
yeah, I was already feeling like CUAA was kind of they could very easily with all their with their disengage with how Jace typically plays. You want to like maybe they lean in more to the poke, and it's interesting to see them commit to that with the Ziggs pick. Followed up with the Ezreal for K State as well.
Yeah, definitely touching on that Ziggs pick. I mean, you can see CUAA, they're very set up for sieging, getting out. not getting caught by this K-State team. So it feels like with the draft so far, they kind of it's kind of up to them how this game goes. If they're sloppy early, um, they'll pay for it. But if they can just hold their cool, not die, and just make it to when Ziggs and Jace are strong, I think they will win out here.
Here it's looking like we got an Ari as the last pick for K State. Seems like they decided to have the Swain support. It would be my guess, and having the Ari mid. So Swain Ezreal, I mean, you can do some decent damage if you get ahead enough in the lane, but actually Lissandra pick, so that's probably a list mid.
Yeah, so that kind of rounds out CUAA's comp very nicely. It gives them some more disengage, but also some engage. Um, and just some good sieging tools. And for K State with the Ari pick, they're committing to the skirmishing, run around play style, take sloppy fights because all of our champions thrive in those. So this is a very interesting matchup, two very different team comps, and I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
We will switch back really quick. Yeah, I mean, we got some. While we wait for the game to start, we have some pretty interesting picks here. The Ezreal pick, I think, the Ezreal and Ari pick both for K State. You have these really skirmish heavy champions, and I think the Ezreal does make a lot of sense with because you're not really guaranteed a lot of safety in the ADC role when you have an Aatrox that just wants to put the pedal to the metal, and the Swain who also is like trying to be as close to the enemy as possible. So Ezreal, I do think makes a lot of sense, but also might make K State feel a bit more. It might mess with team cohesion. Is the only thing which.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to touch on. Is that it feels like K State should have all in with their ADC pick, picked up a Draven, a Samira, something that goes in with those skirmishers, and kind of full committed to their play style. But instead, they opt for this kind of safety pick. I feel like they were trying to round out their comp to make it balanced across the board and what they could do. But really, I think they should have just stuck to one strategy and just done it since it's just a best of one game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really just comes down to how well CUAA can perform this poke siege style comp. Of course, I think where K State is going to thrive is when CUAA starts making mistakes, when they start slipping up or they overextend or they're caught out of position, and K State like has the room to punish them. Especially, I think we'll be looking at bot lane a lot early game because the Swain pick, if Swain does like take something like Electrocute, uh, then that will give Ezreal some room to get some really clean poke in.
Yeah, if Swain has electrocute, that's a lot of kill pressure for the lane. But with something like a Thresh, it's very easy to get out of there and just keep your ADC safe. Especially a Ziggs too, who is mobile when he needs to be. He can put a bomb down and just hop away and make space between the enemies. So I'll be interested to see how the bot lane plays out. I really do think that this game will be dictated by how CUAA controls the game. I think that if they stay together as five, don't get caught out, force objectives together, that overall they have a stronger team comp than K-State.
All in all, I guess we can both agree on that the real like maker of this game, more of it is a test of CUAA's cohesion, how well they can play together as a team. I think.
No, I agree. They have so many good poke tools. I mean, Jace Q, if you've ever been hit by one of those, you know how much it hurts. And same with Ziggs bombs. So it's only you can only take so much before you either have to back up and heal up or try and force something and run at them. Yep, and looking here, it looks like neither team is really grouping up for an invade. They're just gonna kind of play it out in this 5-point defense, and not take any risks here. Yeah, and that's always kind of rough for the teams is having to sub somebody in last minute, especially in a best of one, you only get one game with this player, and you kind of had to adapt your play style to them in a certain sense, because it's hard for them to come in and figure out exactly what your team does and what you're trying to do. But looking at the junglers here, it looks like both of them are going to start with a bot lane leash and probably eventually meet each other at the top Scuttle Crab at 3 minutes. I agree. It really depends on how healthy these junglers can keep themselves while they're clearing until they get to that first early skirmish. Yeah, so it looks like Trundle's going to have a little bit of a camp lead here. And yeah, this is what I just mentioned. They're both kind of pathing towards the same Scuttle Crab, and I think that if Trundle has an XP advantage, he's just going to win out. There's not much that K-State can do about that. Oh, Scott, it appears as if you are muted on stream, actually. So to kind of recap what he just said, yeah, a lot of the bot lane kind of depends on the Swain pressure here, and if he can catch them out with that stun, it allows Ezreal to get a lot of free damage onto them, and that led to 2 free kills for K-State.
Yeah,
And this,
I was saying very clean play from K-State here. And thank you for the notification that I was muted. But luckily, we caught that early.
yep, and this is kind of the.
1 second, we got another charm. In Blend has been really solid with those charms on Lysandra, just landing one after another, and finally got that kill on Lysandra.
I agree. This kind of looks like the dream start for K-State. Exactly what they wanted to do: get out, get kills early, punish sloppy play, and this is exactly what they're gonna have to do if they want to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, all that's left now is top lane. We see they're both completely healthy. Neither one really budging. Meatball's not really budging to the poke with the Aatrox healing, and Clebby is keeping his distance for the time being, getting a lot of wards down to stop any ganks from happening.
Yeah, and it feels like the Aatrox is really respecting, the Jace player. I mean, he's got so much experience on that Jace. It feels silly to try and just challenge it without, getting some sort of advantage first.
Yeah, let's see if he can use that knowledge in that matchup to kind of create anything for his team later down the line. So, Inblind, misses the charm just barely. Does get the poke off. Jace is trying to trade with Meatball a little bit, but not quite enough. Brown action, meanwhile, is bot lane, trying to get gank on Drasco. Drasco is unfortunately caught out thanks to Kazanum, and he will go down to the Ziggs damage. Young Ion doing what he can, but will narrowly dodge the hook.
Oh, and it looks like another solo kill over to the Ahri in the mid lane here. That's going to be huge.
One and only Deft trying to get something on Trundle, but he does have Pillar to get away.
Yeah, and it feels like this mid lane matchup might be kind of a problem for CUAA. If Aura keeps getting ahead, it's going to open up the whole game, and really let K-State's team comp do what they want.
Flash Charm onto Brown means he will go down. That Electrocute is pulling its weight for Inblend.
And that's crazy. Already a 3-0 start for the K-State mid laner here. It feels like anything he can do, he just gets away with it. So kind of looking back here, I mean, the top lane matchup, Meatball, is getting a little poked out. You know, he's respecting the Jace pick. He's just looking to farm up and then be kind of a frontline unit for his team. And then the jungle matchup, that was kind of a perfect gank bot lane earlier, but here it looks like a contested Drake. He's going to come out, and K-State wants to get out on top of this early.
Certainly have the pressure to do that. CUAA just doesn't really have enough, even after getting a kill on that gank here. Just Ziggs just can't really help in that situation. Well, Brown's going to go on to one and only Deft here. Just get a little bit of poke off. Has to back off because in blind is too much pressure at mid moment. Will probably miss one of the few charms we've seen miss this game. Still takes much poke for it.
No, definitely. And it feels like K-State's tempo here is just perfect. You know, they're doing exactly what they want to, anywhere they want. And, you know, I think that's going to translate huge into the mid game for them.
Yeah, we already see K-State get a 1k gold lead up on CUAA. It's looking definitely, you know, we were kind of wondering how K-State plays this out when they're playing with a sub like that. And it turns out, as long as you stick the sub on Aatrox, you don't have to worry about too much else.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, you just, you know, let them know to respect that well.
Oh, nice little charm from Inblind, forcing Irondale to eat a lot of poke.
Yeah, Nblind's kind of playing out of his mind so far this game. Really just kind of...
Yep, quite a lot of predictions on... Solid predictions, just like right through the tower too, and just past any minions that would have guarded it. Although Irondale is going to eat yet another charm, saying a little too close, forced to drop the ult. Let's see if it is enough, and it will be enough to save him. Although one and only Deft is trying to go in on Chebby here, who's been pushed up. Brown is right behind. Hopefully a peel off. Meatball's going to eat some damage in retaliation of it. Will dodge the Jace Q, however.
Yeah, that is Jace flash down now, and it feels like, okay, this might be the exact advantage that the Aatrox was looking for to try and force a 1v1.
Yeah, I mean, Brown is just hovering up here. Inblind is really close behind, however. You see Meatball does drop the ultimate. Inblind is just waiting to get that charm and land that Q. But Brown is dealing with Meatball. It is not looking good for K-State there. Oh, flash ult from one and only. Can he get out? Gets the stun on Trundle, but will it be enough? He does have the Q and everything else. Doomslayer dropping the TP for the free kill.
Yeah, and that was kind of a crazy fight there. At the beginning, it was very split. You know, the Aatrox was fighting the Trundle, and Ari was fighting the Jace, and somehow, even with almost a full HP bar advantage, the Ari lost that fight to Jace, and that's going to be huge for the side of CUAA.
Oh, solid dodge from Young Ion. Draco's dropping the ult, trying to get it, and the ult from Ezreal is what's going to secure it. Will lose Draco in the process, but does not go to Thresh, did not damage Drasco.
Yeah, that's a huge play for the spot lane. Just getting further ahead. The Ziggs TP top. Ezreal has free farm.
Inblind missing the charm, but does get the electrocute in the second half of the Q damage. Inblind has a lot of gold from all those early kills, and it is paying off. Holy shit.
Holy. Yeah, I mean, there's not much Lissandra can do here. I mean, they might look for a gank here. They have 3 members in the area.
Brown is going here, and the Arendelle is in position, but does hit by the charm. Oh, the shield is saving him, but not for long. Inblind gets smited and gets chomped. Oh, meanwhile, Meatball and only trying to close in on Klebby here, just to trade something. In
Yeah, this
retaliation for
game.
Ari.
Oh, they
Oh,
catch up and get him. This game is just turning into
ooh,
quite the fiesta here.
there's a lot of stuff going up on the map. Rift Trail being dropped, mid getting a lot of gold. Dreamslayer is pushing bot as well. We're seeing a lot, and when the hook as well, but Drasco is half health from eating those bombs. Will not be able to do much else.
Yeah, and it feels like if this playstyle kind of continues, this is in K-State's best interest here. Um, nobody's really profiting off of this except for the Trundle here for the side of CUAA.
Yeah, I mean, as we were talking about, oh, the hook does go on Drasco. He does have the golden pose, but is still in ult, still soaking up HP like mad. Erendal, meanwhile, mid is just eating so much poke still.
Yeah, and it's so hard for Lysandra to do anything in this matchup in the RA. It's just, in these kind of mid-range mage matchups, whoever gets ahead kind of just wins out.
Oh, Chevy is actually going to get hit by the sweet spot, eating a lot of damage from Meatball up top there. And yeah, like you were saying, with the mid matchup, it's also just really troublesome when you have an Ari who already has her finished mythic. She already has Leandries, and when you're already having a hard time dodging, it makes that matchup really, really punishing. And here we see, Only might be getting caught out, a little bit greedy with that dragon there.
Oh man, that's just so tough to watch mid lane. Because with the Leandries, I mean, Ari doesn't even have to land a full combo, and you're still going to burn down to a lot of poke damage.
We see K-State's kind of committing to getting this dragon. They do have Inblind with Charm up. It'd be really troublesome if anyone gets caught. They decide just to let it go. Very smart dragon from K-State, just trying to continue to use what pressure that they have from both lanes. Ooh, and the ult charm drops Erendel. Erendel.
That's yet another kill over to the Ari. I mean, that's just huge. And K-State hops out to an early 2 Drake lead here, and it just feels like their tempo will be unmatched.
So far, it's not looking good for CUAA. They'll have to play. Want to see how they respond, see if they can play the defense plan that they need to try to keep this game. They do still have a Ziggs who can provide a lot of pressure later in the game, and Trundle isn't, not for nothing. Trundle does have a couple of kills up his own belt. Draco is actually getting hooked, and Ion's getting tossed in as well. Yell from Thresh comes out, but Draco will fall like it's nothing. Great gank set up from Kazadam. Oh, looks like One and Only is also here to try to get onto Klebby. Meatball here with the follow-up. Does miss the sweet spot. Klebby to get out. And mid as well.
Yeah, there's just so much going on this map right now, but I want to highlight that bot lane gank. That was a huge Thresh play. I mean, throwing the lantern, landing the hook. I mean, he's doing exactly what he needs to do to try and get his team back into this one.
Hopefully, Kazandam. I think we'll be looking at bot a lot more in the mid game to see how Zig can pressure these objectives like he has the ability to do.
No, definitely. And luckily for the side of CUAA, the people that they need to get kills on and get ahead are kind of doing that here. The Ziggs, he's on an item, and the Trundle with a solid lead over the Viego here.
Yeah, it's looking really good for K-State, but CUAA is not without their light of hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
I will say, however rough this mid matchup is, no matter what, Lysandra can always press the ult on whoever the biggest problem is in the enemy team, the same way that Malzahar kind of does. So it's kind of a nice substitute for that.
Oh, in blind, just getting yet another charm. He's not really keeping track, but so far I've only counted 2 misses so far.
Yeah, and I mean that's a pretty impressive hit record, and I mean his KDA kind of shows it. He's executing exactly how he needs to be.
The question is, can he keep it up later into the mid to late game? Will he be able to keep landing all his abilities when the team fight gets really chaotic? We saw in that early gank into Jace, Inblind was kind of holding on to their kit a lot, just waiting for Jace to sort of do something to react to it and catch him in like mid animation. But
yeah, it just kind of felt like Blind didn't understand, the burst capabilities that Jace has in his kit. 'Cause it's not a pick that you really see too
Meanwhile,
often.
bot, we almost missed it. Draco going down. K-State actually lost bot tower, and Brown Action is chasing down Young Ion. Adam is close behind with the Lissandra. Lissandra doing her job. Like you were saying, it doesn't matter how far behind you get on Lissandra. You have the utility that your team needs.
Exactly, and I mean, with the Malzahar ban coming through in the draft, it feels like this is a perfect solution for that.
Meatball is behind as well. The hook is going to miss. Meatball's going in. The charm comes down on Brown. Arundel getting the root off, but will get caught up. Meatball is getting torn up, however. And one and only Deft is here, but that pillar is just so disruptive. The flash gets dropped. And Blind also flashes, but cannot get any more CC. Kazandam gives himself up for the rest of his team. Meanwhile, Doomslayer, misses the satchel charge on the tower. Young Ion's here to defend.
Yeah, he's still got a lot of, and I mean, you can see CUAA, they're saying, hey, and they're going to run us down, but what are we going to do? We're going to try and get things around the map.
Very impressive from CUAA. We see them sticking to their guns and doing the game plan they need to be doing. Here we see actually Pop and Freddy as well. It's still getting that push in, although he might be getting collapsed on. It looks like he does have the movement speed, hopefully, to get out of this. Man's trying to follow up, but the movement speed.
Yeah, it's just too much. I mean, Clubby's doing a great job getting himself ahead here. However, the Ari's chasing.
And Blind is following up. He does go, drops the hammer down, and Blind cannot react to it.
Yeah, and I mean, this Jace pick is, and I'm excited to see, if he could scale into this mid game and just tear apart the K-State team, because Jace has a lot of tools to engage and disengage, which is kind of the theme with CUAA's team comp here.
Yeah, I think while the Ziggs pick will be very important later, you were right in saying that Jace will be strong goal. He knows the champion so intimately. You can't help but wonder, what does he have planned? What's his game plan to kind of help his team along and recover this game from how K-State's been playing really aggressively.
Well, exactly. And CUAA picking up that Drake is huge. It kind of delays the timer that K-State's on here a little bit. However, with the lead that K-State got a little early in the game, that timer might have been extended. But as you can see, the gold lead here kind of shifts back over to CUAA.
Yeah, all the early tower pressure. They've already broken all outer towers. While K-State's been kind of struggling to put pressure into the side lanes like they would want to.
Yeah, and that's kind of how the Ziggs picks pays off. He could just kind of take bot turret, teleport, go wherever, take that one. It's so much pressure, especially if you're trying to run around and skirmish and not defend the siege.
Yeah, I mean, really interesting team play from both sides. I'm really happy that we're able to see CUAA not really fold that all the early losses that we saw had be granted to K-State.
Yeah, something that's very interesting that I just saw on the scoreboard a little bit ago is that it looks like CUAA, all of their laners except for Lissandra, has a pretty sizable CS lead on their opponent here, and I think that's really what's giving them this gold lead that when you look at the scoreboard, you think maybe they shouldn't have.
Yeah, we can actually look a bit more at the gold lead as well. You see Ziggs is up well over a K, Top is up over a K, same thing with Jungle, and the only exception being mid here, with Sandra having to sacrifice a lot to that Ari, being down about 3K actually. So
yeah, and it feels like, CUAA, they had a little bit of jitters early. They were trying to feel out their opponent. They said, hey, all right, these guys are here to fight early. Their champions are a little stronger. We need to respect that and just farm up.
Yeah, I mean, we see definitely saw K-State look as strong as they were looking early. They have been having kind of trouble. One only Deft is actually playing a bit even more aggressively here, trying to get this red buff. Xandom is getting vision.
Yeah.
One is around the corner. Jace is as well. We'll have to see what Deft has in his kit to get away, maybe. Oh, but he is just burning from the Ignite. Oh, meanwhile, Greendel's also eating a lot up here, too. Oh, meanwhile, K-State, the rest of the K-State is here to defend their jungler. Kazanda might be yet another casualty. Can he get any more? He's taking the ult from Ezreal. The hook comes down onto Meatball, but he is trying to heal, but it won't be enough for the Jace. It's just a little too much. Meanwhile, the teleport at Inblind being in the middle of the team did not account for how much pressure they would be feeling from CUAA. To Jace Q. Wipes out Ezreal. Draco is looking like he will also go down. Oh, but the hook claw is not enough.
Yeah, and the misses, and it feels like, the guy that got you into that situation is the only one that lives, and if you're the side of K-State, that feels kind of bad. Def's aggressive play there kind of got them extremely punished, and CUAA, ups the gold lead, ups the pressure, and gets to the point in the game where they're trying to go, which is mid to late game when their champions spike.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of what we talked about earlier in the draft phase with that sort of dissonance you're feeling from the Ari and the Ezreal pick. They had despite Viego getting caught out right there, they had a pretty good follow up with the rest of the team showing up onto Kazadam, but they just didn't have enough damage. Ezreal just couldn't quite hump out enough to
No,
finish the
definitely.
job.
And that felt like a really weird invade to take if you're the side of K-State. Having your strongest champion in the bot lane split pushing while Viego's alone trying to take the enemy red buff just feels a little bit silly on their part there.
Yeah, definitely. And the TB from Inline, a lot of it. I guess we can just summarily say here that it was a little bit too sloppy. Oh, and Deft might be getting caught out yet again, walking when he doesn't have the vision to support it.
Yeah,
CUAA, we're just waiting with a trapdoor spider tactic.
Yep, and this is kind of exactly what I was talking about. CUAA can get onto an objective as 5 and make K-State walk into them. They're going to win it every time here.
ET is just a little bit too overpowering, although the push from Meatball will force a teleport from Buddy, but he does not have the damage to pressure anymore.
Yeah, and unfortunately here, it feels like, well...
Oh, looks like a team fight going on here. Meatball trying to trade with Klebby, but he's just taking so much damage. Klebby does have the Eclipse and Manamune with the last Whisper finish, so he's pumping out a lot.
Yeah, and once the Jace gets to that 2-3 item mark, he starts one-shotting almost any champion in the game. He has a lot of damage, percent damage, and just raw stats, and he can just do that. And unfortunately here for K-State, it feels like their saving grace in this game would be to split push, but, the champions that they have picked aren't really good for that.
One barely missing the charm on Doomslayer. Doomslayer just trying to keep his power as long as possible. Meanwhile, one and only Death, yet again, really aggressively on the enemy side of the map. Klebby and Brown looking to collapse on him. The damage is so much. He tries to alt E away, but the J speed and Trundle speed is too much. Meanwhile, Lysandra goes down mid, getting collapsed on by the bot and top.
Yeah, and here for Deft, it feels like the one and only Deft, he's taking risks he doesn't need to be,
I mean, your team was able to get that mid. Oh, Kazanda was getting ignited. The hook from Jasco was able to secure that fresh kill. Meanwhile, Brown is trying to possibly go in on this bot lane. Swain will go down, but Brown is taking a lot of damage. Can Young Ion keep it up? He will not. He tries to get in melee range. It does not work. Meanwhile, Doomslayer in a 1v1 with Ari bot drops the ultimate on himself, but Inblind has enough dashes to get back to safety.
Yeah, and that was a crazy fight there. But for the side of CUAA, it just feels like this tandem of Jason Trundle running around. Just there's nothing K-State can do to match it. It feels like they could sing, the two of them can fight all of K-State's members at once and just kind of get away with it and win.
Yeah, Meatball had a pretty good follow-up. Oh, Brown is actually trying to be the one on the aggressive side this time. Oh, one and only Death is just not really able to answer that. The Trundle is just stat checking him that hard at this point in the game.
The Trundle being 3 levels up, it makes this this matchup so impossible, and it was already hard. Uh, when they were even. So now that Trundle's so ahead, it feels like the Viego is just gonna have such a hard time doing anything in fights here.
I'm seeing a lot of good job from CUAA answering a lot of these, how they're punishing a lot of these plays. K-State's, we said they want the sloppy fights, but maybe these fights are a little bit too sloppy for them.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like, K-State's just kind of trapped. They don't know what to do here. And because their game plan was to get ahead early, which they did, but then it kind of fell apart in the mid game by some silly overextensions by the jungler.
Down to good dodge from Brasco. Then Ion's trying to pump a bit of damage, but Brown is there to follow up. Zandam getting the Trundle inside. Irindel is here with the root onto the support, but only the support. Trading quite a bit of resources for it. We'll see. Won't see Dragon up for another minute. So, looks like Inblind is possibly getting caught out here, but will not suffer too much. Does have to use Spirit Blast, but will get hooked by Kazandam, and the CC comes out. Def tries to ult in to maybe assist, but Meatball is behind as well, but everyone is just following like dominoes. Another hook. Cleddy's damage is so crazy. Ion just melts.
Somehow. Kazandam lives there, and I mean, you just saw his health bar the whole time, and it was
watching.
Stayed at that same 100 HP mark that whole time, and it just felt like, man, those guys on K-State, those guys and girls that were playing would do anything just to take him down, but at the end of the day, there was just too much CC, too much control, and they just couldn't do it.
Just wavering that lofty, that nice little slab of steak in front of him, and K-State took the bait.
Exactly, which, I mean, you kind of expect from their team comp, right? I mean, that's what they're built around, is getting those picks. But I mean, after you see one player go down to 4 of the CUAA members, it feels like, okay, maybe we just walk away. But
I mean, if K-State were able to play a little bit more cohesively, I know that's difficult with them having a sub, but if they could play a little bit more cohesively, you did have Meatball coming in from the side. You almost had Deft following up on the Ari pull there, but it just seemed like everyone was just a little bit too out of step, and it may just cost them. It looks like only Deft is picking for a Baron play here, while CUAA commits to the Dragon.
Yeah, I like this a lot, but unfortunately, there's only 2 members there now, and CUAA, they know what's going on. They're gonna get the Drake and start to move up.
Cassandra follows up on the hook. The charm goes down. They're eating a lot of damage. Not able to stagger their CC a lot. Not only Deft is eating so much and will die to the Ziggs bomb. Inblind forced to use another ult charge, trying to poke down CUAA while they try to collapse. And it looks like they're going to be the ones to go for this Baron.
Yeah, and the way the CUAA is playing, they're so in sync. I mean, you saw that fight before the last Drake. The one we were just talking about, the way that they were all moving around each other, using their abilities perfectly, the CC layering, everything just feels like it's going their way, like they've been practicing this particular comp, how they're going to play. Sure, they had some jitters early game, but they've really pulled it back here, and I mean, it looks like, there's not a lot of hope left for K-State in this game.
It's not looking too good. I mean, if you look at the goal difference as well, even Ari, who had a pretty massive lead before, like it's still up 2,000, but it was more before. So losing that gold lead even a little bit can't feel that great. And
exactly, and in these fights here, with this gold lead still being around 3K, I had to ask you, who looks more useful in the fight, Lissandra or Ari?
Ari's strong. Oh, it looks like Draco will eat eat the Swain Claw and the Charm as well, going down in mere instance. Oh, looks like they're looking to ping to go in. Meatball is coming in from the side. Ezreal goes down. Draco is trying to get in there. Meatball's in the behind. One and only's collapsing onto the back line, but they just don't have enough damage. Young Ion is too chunked, and one only has to try to find a way out of this fight. Tries to ulti, and the Charm from Inblind is able to collect another kill. Young Ion's trying to get as much damage fighting this Ziggs as much as possible, but he will barely live while
Oh
Clevy
my gosh.
collapses Ari into nothing. Young Ion is next on the chopping block, although they will
And
leave Met Tower.
the the Jace damage again. This Jason Trundle, they're just kind of walking around doing whatever they want, and in that fight, it felt like CUAA had the tools to combat that Aatrox, coming from the flank. Holy, these towers are just going.
Yeah, but the damage. I mean, almost up 2,074, and the Nexus
And that's
just won't
just
exist
it. I
anymore.
don't think I've
Holy-
ever seen a Nexus
that
fall
was-
that fast from three champions
Is
in
there a
30
bug
minutes.
this patches? There's something wrong. I feel like Nexuses are tankier than that.
My goodness, that was insane. But yeah,
That was
CUAA, I guess
massive.
they knew they could go for the end, and they did it perfectly there. And I mean, talk about execution. Past 5 minutes, they gave up that first Drake to K State. They gave up a few kills early. But then they regrouped. They caught their breath and they said, "All right, let's stick to what we're doing. Let's try and find a lead for our Jace player who's very comfortable on this pick and can get ahead and small the game." And that's kind of what you saw with the Jason Trundle. They walked around together and just kind of decimated K State.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I will say, I said before at the start of this game that the big part of this game is a test. It would be a test of CUAA's performance to act cohesively as a team, and they definitely passed with flying colors. No, a lot due to that Jace just being such a having such a strong farm lead, playing really safely early into the Aatrox, and he really was able to translate that lead pretty steadily late game when he was just going around, like you said, with the Trundle and just collecting any person from K State who went too far ahead and stepped too much on their side of the map.
Yeah, it definitely felt like he was kind of the rock for this team. He held it down early game. He didn't give the Aatrox any lead. And I think he's kind of the reason that they pulled this back. And obviously, everyone on CUAA played well, especially the jungler. Great pathing, knew where he needed to be, knew how to get back into this game. But yeah, honestly, I think the Jace is the match MVP here, just really controlling side lane tempo and just executing when he needed to.
Really good props to CUAA, and also, good job on Kansas State for playing like they did despite having a sub down. It wasn't like it was a total stomp either. We saw some really good early game play. Side. Their top lane, despite being a sub, was did try to make some plays later in the game. They ultimately didn't work out, but it was still a good old college try from Kansas Academy B. So thank you for
Definitely.
both teams.
And yeah, kind of
Sorry, you didn't finish your point.
some last thoughts on K State here.
Yeah.
They knew what they needed to do. They were doing it. Props to Ari. Really good plays in the mid lane. Strong laning phase. The bot lane got ahead too. I think they overall played really well, but it just kind of fell apart there in the mid game. It just felt like the communication wasn't there, and that happens with the sub. But overall, I'd say great jobs to both teams. Congrats CUA on the win, and K State. I hope to see you guys playing in the next game.
There we go. A little bit of difficulty, but we are back on track. So we have the Draven ban and the Lux ban coming out. Both of these are just such strong picks right now. Draven, he's that high risk, high reward. But they do, he is a little unbalanced at the moment. He is quite good in the current meta, especially with very popular supports right now. You got Thresh being played a lot. You got Leona being played a lot. Draven has really good synergy with those. I always like a Lux ban. She's such a simple champion coming through. Warburg has a high success rate on Lux, so no surprise there. Lulu ban coming through. Now this is a bit interesting. It's very different of a feel than Draven. but she has some of the best peel in the game. You have a Lulu on your team. It's very hard to dive. She's going to keep the hyper carry alive, and just very annoying to deal with. Her and Janna are some of the most protective supports in the game. So no surprise that that's coming through. Kane Ban, again, another really simple, versatile pick. He can go many different routes. He has a very good clear. He can invade pretty early, which just makes him a really good ban in general. And then we're going to finish it up with Syndra and Misfortune. Again, both these picks are just so strong in the meta right now. The Syndra rework is a little overtuned. It is a little strong. I personally hate seeing it. It's so good because not only does it scale well into the late game, but it's really strong in the early game, especially against certain picks. And especially, if Syndra is taking barrier, taking Zonias, it's going to be very hard to kill that carry. And then Misfortune, even if you get behind, that ult is one of the most highest damage ults in the game. It's always going to be good. So yeah, these are some solid bans. Wartburg has some really impressive performances on the Misfortune, on the Kane, so that's no surprise. And then taking away the Syndra Lulu Draven from Ithaca, very good choice in my opinion. Now the Seraphine pick coming out first, and this is really interesting to me. Because typically supports are saved for the latter half of the draft. The support has such an influence on what the comp says as a team. Now, granted, this Seraphine could be flexed mid, or even carry. You know, we've seen the Seraphine in the carry position before in certain metas. It's not as meta at the moment, but it still could happen. But yeah, picking something like Seraphine, you know, you're kind of telling the enemy team, hey, we're going to be drafting a bit more protective. We're not going to have as much engage. They can obviously still draft engage. And Seraphine's ult is one of the better Enchanter engage ults, but it's still very telegraphed. You know, if the enemy team can clearly see it, and it might be a bit more efficient as a peel tool rather than an engage tool. Now the Olaf Caitlyn. Now this is an interesting combo. You know, Olaf is going to be able to tear right through that Seraphine. And Caitlyn is going to have that really, really good range to sort of follow up with the Olaf. Olaf's going to create that space without going too deep. You know, if you pick some heavier dive champions that really go deep into the backline, Caitlyn might not be able to catch up with those. But I think the Olaf Caitlyn is going to be really strong. Now, Rel and Samira. Okay, so they're showing that it is, in fact, Seraphine mid. Very excited for that. I mean, one of the most powerful combos in the game, Rel Samira. That engage is just absolutely nasty. You know, you get the quick knock up with the Rel. Samira can follow it up with her passive, knocking them up for an extra 0.5 seconds, allowing Samira to follow in with the Rel and just deal massive wombo combo damage. Caitlyn's got to be very, very careful for that. And then the Victor coming through. You know, I think Victor is a really solid pick into the Seraphine. You know, they know that it's in the Seraphine, and Victor can really stand his ground. You know, Seraphine doesn't offer too much of a early game threat if Victor positions properly, so he can, you know, get his passive going, get that gold going, and just become a late game monster that destroys everyone. See, there's a jungle ban coming out from Ithaca and a top lane Yone ban coming out from Wartburg. You know, you hate to see it. You know, top Yone was very popular in Worlds this year. It was very, very dominant, being played even in the finals. So no surprise that that's being taken away here. Ithaca does have some really good games on Yone, so it's definitely something to be feared. And again, one of those picks that's like pretty strong early if you're not careful, and then scales really well into late game. And then Set. I mean, one of the simplest juggernauts to play. You don't even have to hit your abilities. You can just auto. What a menace. Just always a solid ban coming out. Taking that away from Wartburg is I think the right choice. And then Echo, one of my personal favorite champions in the game, being taken away. A little sad about that. I was kind of hoping to see the Echo come through. But it does make sense. It does make sense. So we will have to see what Ithaca says go here. You know, they're still looking to pick their support and their top lane. Maybe mid if they decide to flex the Victor top. It has been seen before. We'll have to see where they go on that. Personally, as a Caitlyn mid, Ornn top. Now that's what I like to see. That engage. I think it's going to pair very well with Olaf, who is just this freight train's going to want to run in, but doesn't quite have the gap closers to get there. So I think the Ornn can be very well. Now, as a Caitlyn main, I'm really hoping to see something like Brand, something like Zyra, some of those high damage supports coming out, because that just pairs so well with the Caitlyn. She can play with Engagers, she can play with Enchanters, she's very well rounded, but traditionally she does a lot better with picks, such as Morgana, such as Zyra. Aatrox. I hate you, Wartburg. This Aatrox is in my opinion the worst champion in the game. I hate playing against them. I'm playing top lane for my team right now, and Aatrox is my perma ban. Doesn't matter who I'm playing. Doesn't matter if I'm playing the hardest Aatrox counter. Get that guy out of there. He did get nerfed somewhat with the Eclipse nerfs coming out 2 patches ago, but still. And then the Hecarim sort of rounding out the draft here. Very interesting indeed. That Diver's going to be able to get in the back line, follow up with the Rel, with the Seraphine. Should be quite interesting. We'll see what Ithaca's last pick is going to be. And it is indeed the Poppy. So, that Warden is going to be very interesting as a support. Not the best synergy with Caitlyn, but that is okay. So, we will be talking about this draft really shortly. All right. So yeah, these teams are really interesting. Wartburg. I really like their draft. It's very aggressive. It's the Rel, Samira, Hecarim. They're one and go in, and that Seraphine is going to give them the support that they need. The Aatrox is a little bit of isn't quite as engagey though. Isn't going to fit in quite as well as we might want. But that being said, their draft is very well rounded. They can do a lot of things. The Aatrox can split. They can sort of siege with the Seraphine Aatrox. Those, they have a lot of presence. You can also really peel for the Samira and Aatrox and really get quite a bit of peel going for them, keeping them going strong. And then obviously you can catch. If you just sit in a bush. The Rel, the Hecarim, they're going to be very good at finding those flanks, at rotating from objective to objective, and catching people in that jungle. They don't team fight as good as the enemy team here, so they are going to be looking for those advantages. They're going to be looking for unfair skirmishes. But yeah, that's what I'm sort of hoping to find from Wartburg. I don't want to see traditional 5v5 fighting for them. As for Ithaca, I do want to see that traditional 5v5. Ornn is going to have that engage. Olaf is going to be able to follow up beautifully. Victor sitting in that mid line just behind Olaf and Ornn is going to be able to bring that DPS to the fights. And Poppy, Poppy's such an interesting champion because she has some of the best peel tools in the game. That ultimate can knock an entire team away. She can get that Hecarim and Rel out of the fight if they get onto the carry. But at the same time, she can engage. A good flash wall pin can really start off a fight well. She has that damage to start fights on her own and to follow up. So I will be interested to see if the Poppy plays more of a front line or if the Poppy stays back and peels for the Caitlyn. Because there's not a lot of peel for the Caitlyn on this team. Poppy is kind of it. And if that Hecarim, gets onto the Caitlyn, there's nothing that she's going to be able to do unless she has some peel. So it is a very interesting game that we do have coming out. We're going to go on a short break for the stream delay. We'll be back in about 3 to 4 minutes. I'm very excited for this game. Both these teams have some really good win conditions. Wartburg, is looking for those early game skirmishes. Ithaca's looking for the more traditional scaling 5v5 fights. So we will be back shortly, and I will see you then. So here we go. We're going to be getting into this game real quick here. So nothing too crazy. We see a very traditional 5-point defense coming out from Wartburg. While indeed Ithaca is coming for the top lane invade. You don't see it as frequently as you do the bot lane invades. They're a bit more common. Nothing major comes out of it. Ward coming down from Lavinia, and trying to get some pressure there. Yeah, nothing too crazy, which is unfortunate. I really do like the early game invades. But I respect it, you know, especially Ithaca. You know, like I said, they have much more of a scaling team. You know, Caitlyn doesn't have that as good of a mid game, and Victor definitely does better the later things go. So we'll just have to see how that plays out here. No, again, let's sort of talk about win conditions. You know, I'm really looking for for Corn King to be really aggressive with some of these ganks. You know, Victor does not have many tools for escape. Neither does Ornn, if you can, you know, actually kill him. But hopefully Borge will be able to sort of, you know, poke down some of that health bar, get him kind of low so that the Hecarim gank can go fairly well. But yeah, I really want to see the McNick show get ahead here. You know, the Seraphine mid isn't quite as strong, and they really need to shut down Halachu, or he's just going to be a monster in the late game. They really got to get that going. So I'm really hoping to see some impressive ganks coming over from Corn King. See the early trades already starting in the top lane. Borge 101 asserting dominance over Crisis, trying to find something. But the Ornn has some really amazing trades. One of the best Vanguard traders in the game. So if any tank can stand up to Aatrox, it's probably going to be Ornn. So we'll see how that comes out. So far, everything is quite even. There is quite a faster clear on Hecarim. He's got 17 CS, 2 Poppies, 12. You know, that's just the advantage of playing someone like Hecarim. You know, Poppy doesn't have as strong of a clear, and doesn't have near as good of a gank. So it's much more of a sort of scaling pick, a sort of safe pick. But definitely scary. You know, I don't know if you've ever been ganked by a Poppy, but man, when she comes out of nowhere, it just takes you out, finds that really nice wall pin, especially paired with something like a Caitlyn trap. It can be very, very deadly. A lot of damage coming onto that Crisis. This is what I was looking for. In fact, this is exactly what I'm looking for. You see that Hecarim roaming up, trying to find something. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Crisis is in a lot of trouble. He's taking a lot of damage. Corn King comes around. He tries to find the knockup, but it's not enough, and First Blood goes over to Borge. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about. This is exactly what I wanted. You know, finding these early advantages, using the Hecarim's gank, the advantage over Lavinia's Poppy to get something really juicy. Now, Lavinia knows that Corn King is on the other side of the map, so he'll definitely be looking for something bot here. Christ is going to TP just to catch that minion wave, not lose too much. And Lavinia was backing on a ward. Flash and Pitcher tried to stop it, but it was not quite enough. So this is already a pretty massive advantage. You see already a gold lead going over to Warpboard, or 1,000 gold lead going over to Warpboard. Should be interesting. Crisis dealing a lot of damage to Borg, decides to flash out of the pullback. Probably a smart move. Now you see, I love this. Corn King is already back. Crisis is so low. He's used teleport. They're going to see if they can chunk him out, but it is not enough. The position is not quite good enough. Corn King will just back out. And Corn King has been focusing a lot on this top lane, but if we decide to look bot here, Big Wimbo and Boarding Pass are shoving in quite hard, which is what Caitlyn and Karma do. I mean, they're one of the hardest shoves in the game. But you know, I'm hoping maybe we can see some ganks there. It's not quite as easy to gank, but when they're shoved up that far, it like doesn't even matter really, especially if Flash and Kutcher can find that engage. You know, running the Glacial Augment, so it should be really easy to lock him down if they can find just one knockup, just one engage combo. Hecarim should have a really easy time. Now I do want to draw attention to this Victor. You know, he has 43 CS to McNick shows 30. Halachu is, like I said, dominating, and Crisis is fighting. He's a little low right now. Borges got him down. Borges waiting for those cooldowns to go up. He takes a turret shot. Those cooldowns are not up in time, and both top laners will escape with barely any health left. Wow, if any of them just played a little better, a little tighter, they might have been able to find that kill, but both will live. Borge does have the TP advantage. Crisis is going to have to walk to lane, though it looks right now that the wave state is about even. Crisis trying to find that shove, but he is a little low mana to get these minion waves cleared. Corn King hovering on the bottom jungle. He was spotted by a ward. I'm just going to clear some wards. Lavinia is going to stop him from taking the other one, and there will be a scuttle fight, it looks like. Looks like Corn King's just going to give it away. That's probably a smart move with the dominance of Big Wumbo and Boarding Pass. You know, they're just going to shove in. create that pressure and be able to rotate a lot faster than Videz and Flash and Kutcher ever could. McNick starting to catch up in CS a little bit. It looks like Halachu was able to get a back off 2 control words he bought. That's very interesting. I'm excited to see what he uses with them. You know, typically people don't buy as many control words that early, but I'm a big fan of it. I love early game control words. You know, people usually aren't on the look for them, and if you know where to place them, they can be very, very efficient. So I like the extra warding that Halachu is providing for Ithaca. I'm also realizing that one of the logos on the stream is in fact wrong. I apologize for that. This stream is just littered with mistakes. I will get that fixed as soon as I can. That is a big logo and also not what I wanted. This is just a disaster. There we go, and now I can change the right one to be the right one. I very much apologize for this. We've had some hiccups early game. All right, we are back into it. Focus on the stream again. Looks like not a whole lot happened. Wartburg is still up the 1,000 gold. You know, neither team has started positioning for the straight yet. There are some skirmishes going across the map. Halachu asserting his dominance with that ult, and Crisis actually doing a lot of damage to Borch here. You know, that is a Crisis is saying, no, I don't care that you're overpowered. I don't care that you're overtuned. I'm Ornn. I'm just going to be dealing so much % health damage to you. No, this is really smart from Crisis, picking up the early Bramble Vest. You know, stopping Borch from having any real power in this thing. Now the bot lane's going pretty even, but Borch is, he's ulting in. He's going for this. Now Borch did get the ult, and Crisis is able to find the 1v1, shutting down that Ornn. That is what I like to see. Now Flash and Kutcher going for the engage here. That Glacier Augment dealing a lot of slowing damage, and the trades will go through, but is not quite enough. Lavinia trying to find a gank here, but Corn King was sitting in the bush waiting for something. Lavinia taking a lot of damage. Veda's getting the damage on the boarding pass, and there's a lot of damage coming down, but Lavinia is able to disengage with the ult. Nothing more will go here, except McNick gets the ult. Big Wombo is going to have to flash away, and boarding pass will fall to Videz. What a fight in this bot lane. You know, Ithaca has a lot of peel tools. But not enough. Big Wombo does not respect the engage from this bot lane. You saw the flash engage. You saw Videz just like with no concern for his own health, dives in there, picks up the kill, and what a wonderful bloody game this is beginning to be now. Lavinia is gonna try and fight something on Flash and Kutcher. He is quite low. Lavinia does not have the flash though, so he will not be able to find the kill. But this is exactly what I was looking for from Wartburg. This is what they need in order to sort of scale. They're finding some of these early kills. It might not be enough though. You know, they're only about 2k gold up, a little under at about the 10-minute mark. So we'll have to see if they're able to do it. Now Crisis is trading down, not quite as efficient as before. You know, Borch is starting to get those items. Ornn might not be able to out-damage him forever. Now checking in on gold, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these gold leads. You know, we see a 1,000k gold lead, or a 1k gold lead on the Videz as opposed to Big Wimbo. You know, and that's a lot. You know, Caitlyn kind of needs that early game damage, and McNick is taking quite a bit of damage from Lavinia here. That's like, Poppy has a lot of sticking power if she can stay on it, but Corn King will be able to help him get out, and Corn King is going straight forward. He does not care about Halachu. Flash and Kutcher's there. He's looking for the gauge. Corn King trying to heal up, and he will able to find the kill on Lavinia, and Corn King will escape with his life. That's the power of Flash of this Rel on Flash and Kutcher on Realm. The McNick are taking a lot of damage here. The ace in the hole will find the kill. Caitlyn finally trying to find some. Now Videz is positioned a little weird here. Big Woman doing a lot of damage. Videz looking for that ult. Finally stacks it. Flashes forward to get the ult, dealing a lot of damage, trying to pick up Halachu. Goes in on the Big Wimbo. Halachu will be able to escape, and Big Wimbo will fall. Now, again, like these early game skirmishes, this is what I was hoping for. This exciting early game fights, and this will give Wartburg the advantage they need to get this Drake. What a fight! And if we look at this gold lead, I mentioned Vides had a 1K gold lead. Now he's got a 1.2K gold lead. While Big Wimbo was able to pick up a kill, it is still like not enough. Very behind on items. You know, Samir already has her first item. That Immortal Shield Bow is huge, and in fact, it's probably why she was able to stay alive in that fight. And so Caitlyn's going to be kind of on the down curve, which feels really bad. As a Caitlyn main, I can tell you, if you don't get ahead early, your mid game is so weak. You really just need a power farm until that late game. So that's going to be a lot of breathing room for Wartburg. Wartburg going for this Rift, but without much support behind him, as Lavinia and Crisis will be able to ward him off. They're going to see... This is leashed out quite far, but it amazingly did not... reset, so they will be able to pick that up. That is the first objective going over. Looks like they're able to trade that for the Drake. Very good on Ithaca, you know, finding the trades. You know, when you're stalling like this, you want the trade-offs. You want to trade objective for objective. You want to trade tower for tower, because that's how you stall the game. And Crisis here going in, but so is Corn King ulting the Lavinia. He's taking a lot of damage. That Poppy's not tanky enough. Lavinia will ult and will make it out with their life. Now, if we look on this top side, you know, Borge did get handed by Crisis. You know, that Ornn is just so strong. So Crisis will find the lane advantage, still able to bully that Aatrox. Now, Borge did just pick up Spot Cleaver. So if any time to fight Crisis, it's now. You know, shredding that extreme armor rush. You know, you see on top of looks like the fight here. Corn King trying to invade on Crisis. He uses his unstoppable effect well to stop the knockback, and Corn King just doesn't have ultimate from that mid fight, so he will not be able to find the kill. But yeah, Crisis is just stacking that armor. It is disgusting. You got the steel caps, you got the bramble vest, you've got just like an extra cloth armor. And that's going to keep him alive so well to let that Bomby Cinder really start doing that tick damage the more and more Borge engages in that fight. But again, all that armor trade-off means he's not picking up his first item as fast as Borge. So we'll have to see if the Black Cleaver Power Spike is enough to shred through. I'm very excited for their next skirmish. Now, looking at this mid lane, you know, Halachu is really Ithaca's saving grace here. You know, hasn't died yet, has an assist, is farming very, very well. I see the skirmish going about even, actually a little bit in the fact of Borge. That's a lot of damage. You know, Crisis doesn't quite have the armor, but he's just going to trade right back. He's just going to trade right back. It is staying about even Steven. But again, back to this mid lane, you know, he is 122 CS, the most in the game. He has that 1 assist, and he's sitting on a Darksteel. You know, he's saying, no, I don't want to die. I'm gonna take these stacks slowly. It looks like Borge going, he ults in, dealing a lot of damage to Crisis, not able to do it. Borge tries to go aggressive, but he won't be able to find the kill. Takes a turret shot for his troubles, and Crisis is gonna live. Now, he's not looking back here. Halachu takes a lot of damage from Ignicio there. You gotta respect it, that Leandre's Torment on the Seraphine, very strong. Ignicio saying, all right, you might have bullied me early, but, you know, I have Mythic and you don't. You know, Halachu has not had the opportunity to back it. He's sitting on 1,700. Probably has some Mythic in base at the moment. Now, Crisis taking a lot of damage here. He is able to escape, so he won't be able to finish off the kill. But he's playing here now. Crisis trying to get the ult, trying to kill Borge. Borge flashes out of the ult, barely dodging out of the way, and that's his life right there. So that is flash on neither one of these top lanes. You see that they're both playing with fire here. You know, one wrong move. Both these champions have the ability to one-shot each other, so it's just about who can land that ability. Very excited to see how long they play that out. And it looks like Borge is backing on, except he gets stopped by the minions. Always feels bad. Feels bad for sure. Now, Flash and Kutcher trying to find the engage. Big Wimbo tries to flash out of it and flash in the wrong direction. And Corn King is able to get around, doing a lot of damage to Big Wimbo, but it's hard to catch these guys. Karma and Caitlyn are hard to lock down. And Big Wimbo is able to find a kill, trading 1 for 1. Support for support, going to carry versus carry. Now, Big Wimbo is not safe here. Will just die. You know, that is the false sense of security that turrets give you, especially as an AD carry. you know, like especially when you have no health like that, the turret does not offer that much safety. Sure, Corn King takes a couple of turret shots, but it just doesn't matter, especially when you have some healing capabilities such as Hecarim. And that's going to be very bad for this Caitlyn. She's going to lose a lot of minions. Vidiz is now 5-0, so definitely not feeling good on the Caitlyn. I'm not envious. I do think it's interesting, Big Wimbo picking up this Kraken Slayer. You know, typically Gale Force is a bit more traditional, but I think that Big Wimbo is realizing their role in this is kind of to chip down the Hecarim, chip down the Aatrox, not necessarily win all these fights. So there's a big engage going on in Hellichu, but he will live with help of Lavinia with that so impactful peeling ult. Well, they're chasing her. They're trying to find something. Flashing Kutcher in just the armored walking stance. Very slow. Not able to get away very fast, but very tanky. So able to survive here. Now, Crisis is topside. He does not have TP, and he's pressuring this turret, meaning he will not be here for this objective. Well, Aatrox doesn't have TP either, and he is deciding to go up. So it is a 4v4. And it looks like pressure is going over to Wartburg. But Crisis here, he's saying, no, if you're going to walk right into me, I'm going to take you down. But he misses the ult. So Borge is on a prime opportunity here to win this fight. He's going to ult, and he's just going to stick on Crisis. He's waiting for those cooldowns to come down. And while this is happening, Warburg's able to pick up the objective. And Borge is just whittling down this Crisis. He's got a lot of armor, but that Black Cleaver is doing its work, shredding 30% of that armor, and he will pick up the kill. Feels bad for Crisis. You know, missing that ultimate, it's just not quite enough. So Borge is getting back into this game. He also has a 20 CS lead, so it's like, you know, he's doing very well for himself, doing very well at negating some of the weakness that he had to admit in the earlier stages of the game. Oh. There is a pause around here. We'll see what the reason for that is very soon. Hopefully it is nothing serious. Let's keep talking about this game state. One thing that I want to pull attention to is the objectives. You know, we see that Wartburg has 2 Drakes at this point. I think this is very good. The fact that Ithaca hasn't able to secure one. Like I've mentioned, they're a bit more of a scaling comp. They're a bit more of a traditional. So every Drake that they're able to get stalls the game out that much more. You know, if they're able to find this soul, if Warburg's able to find this soul, it's going to be a lot easier to close out those games. So I'm really hoping to see Ithaca start to contest one of these. If they can just find 1, maybe 2 of those early Drakes, they'll be able to stall out the game just that much more, 5 minutes more. They're down 6 kills now. That leads to about a 3k gold deficit, which is definitely feels bad. Take a look at some of these gold leads. The gold lead is definitely in the favor for top lane. It's definitely in favor of the board. She's got about a 600 gold lead. In the jungle, there is quite a bit of lead. 1.2k over to Corn King on the Hecarim. He's had 2 kills and 4 assists. Now that's exactly what I wanted to see. He's constantly getting these ganks off. He's constantly finding opportunities to get his carries ahead, and that's exactly what I was hoping to look for. In the mid lane, though, that's where things sort of side on, kind of go for the side of Ithaca. Yeah, you know, Hellichu has about an 800 gold lead, which is, you know, again, kind of their saving grace right now. He's the only one that really hasn't fallen behind at all. He's actually ahead, and he's also the hardest scaling. So we'll see how much they play around. Ooh, okay, we are back into the game. Problem wasn't very long. Just continue it. Now, looking in the bot lane, this is where the biggest difference is. You know, that is about a... Oh. Looks like the game has frozen for a second. What is going on here? Okay, we are back into it. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Alright, now and then finally to wrap it up, the supports. There's only about a 400 gold difference, not a whole lot. Being as supports, they don't get as much gold, but it still sort of symbolizes that how much more gold Warburg has over Ithaca at the moment. All right, so we're getting close to the 20-minute mark. It looks like Corn King is gonna try and get the second rift, which will be very nice for them. Again, they're trying to end this fast. They're trying to take these objectives and snowball really heavily. And with 4 people there, it should not be a problem. Ithaca do not have the resources available to stop it. So what does Ithaca do here? You know, they're a bit behind in the game. And that's not exactly what to be. Okay, now Crisis is caught out here. He's a little too far forward. They're taking the rift, and he did not respect it. Flashing Kutcher is able to lock him down to allow Borge to get that damage out. Crisis was a really long time though. He has a lot of armor, but it will not be enough. He's just locked in place, can't walk anywhere. Very good on Warburg, shutting down this top laner again and again and again. Aatrox is now 3-1. So yeah, how does Ithaca play this? How do they get out of this? Well, they need to turtle a little bit. They need to, you know, funnel resources onto Halachu. Let them get some solo XP, solo gold, and that's exactly what they're doing. You know, putting them in side lane I think is very smart. You know, Big Wimbo and Karma have a lot of shoving power. Even with the Herald, they're not able to get more than the outer turret because of that shoving power, because of that range. So I think that is very smart. Well, on the other side, Warburg needs to find the kill on this Victor. He may be strong, but he has not died yet, so it's important that they are able to find the pickup onto Halachu. And that's exactly what they're doing. Corn King is looking for him right now, will spot him, gets the knockback on him, dealing that damage. Halachu trying to lock him off, but Lavinia flashed over the wall, gets Corn King locked down. Halachu will try and find the kill, and will not be able to do it. Flashing Kutcher will pick it up. The Caitlyn ult will come through. McNick being really low. Lavinia trying to find something, but Poppy does not find the engage. She will find the kill onto Corn King, making that a 2-for-1 in the favor of Warburg, and finding that shutdown onto Halachu. That's exactly what Warburg needs to have been doing. Very smart rotation on their side. And that just comes from this pressure that Warburg was able to get in the bot lane. You know, Ithaca is not... Ithaca's, that Caitlyn Karma, typically is a lot more dominant than it is right now. But it's just like, it isn't quite as strong enough to keep up pressure. So they're stuck kind of farming, allowing these really powerful rotations without much punishment. Okay, the gold lead is about at 5.5k. I'm interested to see when these teams start taking these Barons. You know, they did nerf Baron quite a bit this season, so earlier Barons are a lot more popular. And it might be the tool that Warburg needs to sort of close out this game. I like the fact that they're keeping these waves shoved. You know, they're constantly keeping this pressure so that they know where these laners are. You know, probably the biggest weakness for Warburg right now is going to be like getting caught out, not knowing where people are, and accidentally engaging in a big 5v5 fight, which they'll, you know, probably lose. Maybe not at this point, but as the game goes on. So keeping the waves shoved means that people have to come and clear them, and if people are clearing them, you know where they are. It also allows for better picks on rotations. You know, when you see that Caitlyn going from, let's say, mid to bot lane to go clear another wave, you can just sit in a bush and kill her the moment that she walks by. Now you see this Drake setting up. You see some pings coming down from Warburg, making sure that everyone is on the same page to secure it. I think that's very smart from Warburg. They really need to make sure they have this objective. In the meantime, Ithaca, their rotations are just not quite as clean. They do have the Ornn. His TP is almost up. And that's typically when Ornn's the most effective. You know, his ult is a little telegraphed. It's very easy to dodge it if you know where it's coming from. But if you can get that teleport flank off and get a really powerful ultimate. Now, I do really like this. I do really like Warburg setting up in here, waiting for the pick, and they're able to find a big Wimbo, not respecting the bush. Cheese will fall instantly. Lavinia living for a surprisingly long time, but will just fall. And that, I mean, that's a free Drake. There's just nothing that Ithaca can do at this point. They're falling further and further behind. Warburg really finding that pick was so good, and that's exactly how they should be playing. They should be trying to find those picks. And Ithaca needs to start grouping a little bit tighter, a little bit better. You know, I'd like to see maybe Big Wimbo pick up a blue trinket just to sort of, you know, scout out more, because those bushes are so dangerous against the top. They're so dangerous. No, this is the Baron play that I was hoping for. Damn it. Baron can damage over the wall. I had no idea. And Borge is coming in just to sort of zone people off. He's strong enough that he can tank for quite a while. He does have ultimate available, and that's a big cooldown. He's going to be able to tank for quite a long time. This Juggernaut just taking over, but he does take a lot of damage. Is forced out of the fight, and Baron's not quite dead yet, so maybe Ithaca, this is Ithaca's chance to try and find a steal. Crisis does flash over the wall, trying to find something here. Dealing it, flashing Kutcher is not on the pit. Poppy trying to get some people out, but the ult is, that will not find anyone. Flashing Kutcher, Vades is getting a lot of damage down. The big ultimate, wiping the team fight. That is 4 kills for none. Warburg gets the Drake, gets 4 kills, and is looking for the 5th. Boarding pass, backing on a ward, unfortunately for him, and that is the ace. That is what I like to see. This is some exciting League of Legends. That was so close on Ithaca. That was exactly what they should have been doing, you know, especially after they chunked out, they chunked out Borge. Looking for that fight is exactly what they should have been doing. Forcing that 5v5 fight while they had some advantage, being that health bar. But it's just not quite enough. You see Lavinia trying to get a couple people out of the way to make the fight a bit easier. But I'm not sure if it missed or if it got canceled. I missed it. But either way, it did not find a single person. So they were just able to steamroll. No one shut down that smear. And if she gets those stacks on her passive and she's able to get that ult off, I mean, it's just going to be huge. She's 9-0 at this point. She's unkillable once she's activating that ult. What a fight, though. You know, when you're this behind as Ithaca, you got to take those risks. So I got to give it up to them. They played it right. They did what they were supposed to. They were just not able to find the advantage that they needed in order to secure the kill. It was really close, though. I was really hoping that Ithaca was going to steal it just to make this even more interesting, add a bit more depth. But it is about 25 minutes, and, you know, there's 2 inners down. Bot inner still standing up. This isn't quite as fast of a closeout as Warburg might want. You know, they're, like I mentioned, the faster that they close this out, the better. Because they are a bit on a timer here. You know, Caitlyn almost completed her 2nd item. You know, once she gets that 3rd item, she's going to be really powerful. So, and there's quite a bit of weight clear. You know, big limbo and boarding pass on the Caitlyn Karma. A lot of shove pressure there. And Holotron Victor, of course, has some amazing weight clear, especially through Baron minions. So I'm really looking for Warburg to try and force something here. And I'm really looking for Ithaca to put the Poppy on the peel. You know, she went for the Divine Sunder, so she's going more damage. She's looking for the engage. But I'm really hoping to see her sort of sit back, peel Halachu, peel Big Wimbo, let them deal that DPS. Let them start shredding people and keeping them safe. Because if Halachu gets picked, I mean, that's a lot of their damage gone. And it looks like this turret is just going to fall. Warburg is doing a very good job at splitting the map here, pushing mid and top. You know, Ithaca cannot be everywhere at once. They have the wave clear, but not enough. Not everywhere where they need it. It looks like they will be pushing for the inhib and top. Now it is some beautiful sort of pressure. Crisis trying to deal some damage here. You know, he's wailing on these people, but I mean, he's a tank. He's a Vanguard. He does not have that damage. He has the tank. And he will just fall. You know, he did get out the Borge ult. Borge will try to find someone with Lavinia. That is a massive Seraphine ult, locking down everyone, and that is everyone dead. That is an ace, and it looks like Warburg will clear this out. They will get the in him. We'll see if they'll go for the second one, but they don't need it. Looks like they are going to be closing this game out very smooth. 24-4, 3 Drakes, 1 Rift, 8 turrets. Well, Ithaca was only just able to secure 1. This was a very fun, very fast-paced game 1, and Warburg will be able to close it out. Wow, I mean, what a game. You know, you definitely saw Warburg playing to their strengths there, you know, getting that engage, getting that really, you know, forcing the early fights. That's exactly what we were looking for. We will take a second to look at some stats here. I would love to see some of these graphs. If we look at the damage, you know, surprisingly enough, Ornn did a lot of damage. You know, out-damaging the Samira just by about 300, you know. I guess he did have the advantage at that turret, you know, just wailing away at people. But he definitely matched the Aatrox early game, stopping him from scaling a bit too hard. The same cannot be said for the bot lane, though. Samira did way more damage than the Caitlyn. Caitlyn being pushed down there, going under the Samira and closer to his own support. It definitely feels bad. And Poppy, going for the Divine Thunder, going for the damage, but just not able to find some of these picks. Poppy definitely does get sort of countered early by the Hecarim. Hecarim is just so much more of an impactful ganker, and we definitely saw it. It was a very impressive performance from Warburg, finding those early picks. And Ithaca did their best to sort of play back and scale, looking for the risk-taking plays when they were available, but it just wasn't quite enough. The dice did not roll in their favor.